nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. We'll start out by doing roll call. Dr. Campbell, if you'll lead us.
Dr. Campbell, Superintendent.
Claire Wilson, Board Director, Position 2.
Jeffrey McAnalloy, Position 1.
Hiroshiato, Director, District 5.
All right, so we move to the presentation, or approval of the agenda. I'll open the floor for motion.
I move that the Board of Education approve the meeting agenda of October 13, 2015 as submitted.
I second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next will be the approval of the consent agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda of October 13, 2015 as submitted.
For your second?
I second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll have Dr. Campbell do introduction of new administrative staff.
Before I do this introduction, I want to start out by thanking Mark Davidson for decades of service to Federal Way Public Schools. And most recently, he served in the role of deputy, and he has left an indelible mark on the district and the community, and I want to thank him for that. Through conversations with Mark, he and I have talked, and he led the way by saying that he wanted to take on some new opportunities. And with that transition, it has placed Dr. Danny Pfeiffer as our new deputy superintendent. And Danny brings a wealth of experiences, specifically in the area of instructional leadership, instructional technology, as a turnaround principal, and as a coach of principals and central office leaders. We're excited about what's going to happen for our students with her in this role. So congratulations to Dr. Pfeiffer as well.
And now we'll move to good news announcements. This is a process we started this year, and I actually am really enjoying it. So we have 5 different pieces that we'll do. So I will first recognize the National Merit Scholarship Program as announced that the Federal Way High School student Grant Hall. And Grant, if you could please come forward and meet Dr. Campbell down here. Is a commended scholar for outstanding performance in the 2014 preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship qualifying test. Of the approximately 50,000 high scores nationwide, approximately 2/3 received letters of commendation and recognition of their outstanding academic promise. Although commended students do not continue in the competition for National Merit Scholarships, some of these students do become candidates for special scholarships sponsored by corporations and business. Let's give Grant a hand.
All right. I'd like to call up to the front Lydia Wolfram and Josiah McKinley. Are you in the room tonight? The Thomas Jefferson High School Raiders have another WIAA Athlete of the Week. Cross-country runner Lydia Wolfram, senior, received the distinction for the week of September 6th through 12th. Wolfram finished first at last week's 35-team Capital Invite with a time of 14.50 for the 2.23-mile race. Oh my goodness. Thomas Jefferson linebacker Josiah McKinley was featured on the Cairo 7 High School Report and in the Seattle Times. Josias was named the Jack in the Box Football Player of the Week and was listed among the top 10 high school performances. The high school junior registered 6 tackles, 3 for losses, with a sack in the Raiders' 31-6 win over Federal Way, limiting the defending SPSL North champions to 89 total yards. The victory, this is the best, was the first for Jefferson over the Eagles in 5 years. Congratulations to both Lydia and Josias. Awesome. In Director Peterson's absence, I also have the pleasure of inviting Yelena Alexander up to the podium. Sherwood Forest ELL specialist Yelena Alexander received a $3,000 grant from Target to purchase over 300 new books through First Book, a nonprofit organization that provides pre-books to children. Books will be distributed to students during the school's annual Multicultural Night on October 29th. Yelena is also coordinating this event in collaboration with parent volunteers and community members. Multicultural Night celebrates diversity and promotes literacy within the Sherwood Forest School community. Students in ethnic costumes and flag bearers from a variety of nations are just part of the experience. Families will see and experience the many cultures that make up the school community through storytelling, artifacts, ethnic foods, and performances by dancers, singers, and artists. Thank you so much for your work, Yelena.
I have the announcements for Director Carol Gregory, who's not here today. Can we have Alondra Figueroa come to the front, please? Sequoia Middle School staff are proud of student Alondra Figueroa for her tremendous growth, exemplifying this school's theme of changing your lens. Alondra is an open-minded student, a positive risk taker, and is empathetic to her peers. Assistant Principal Crystal Emerson shared that Alondra recently joined the drama program to meet new people and expand her school experience through this class. Alondra has shown herself to be a reflective and communicative learner, assets which have contributed to her progress. Congratulations to Alondra Figueroa. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, for District 5, I'd like to have Olivia Ellington, Sierra Saxton, Richard Carruthers, and Noah Wilhite, if they're available. Illahee teachers Yvette Gregg and Carrie Young are integral to the success of WEB, Where Everybody Belongs, a middle-year student transition program. This program provides a structure for students to make authentic connections with one another. Built on the belief that students can help students succeed, WEB trains student mentors from upper class grades as WEB leaders, hosting orientation activities for incoming students, supporting peers in achieving academic and social success while promoting a positive school climate. Students Olivia Ellington, Sierra Saxton, Richard Carruthers, and Noah Wilhite are 4 of the school's many web teachers who give hours of their time in service to their school and their classmates. Web includes an anti-bullying program that teaches students to look for bullying behavior and how to help stop it. Now these student web leaders are invited to facilitate assemblies at other schools around the district, expanding their leadership roles. Congratulations to Olivia, Sierra, Richard, and Noah for their great initiative. Thank you.
Next on our agenda, Vice President Wilson will give us a legislative update.
So I will say before I do my ledge report, we will not feel like you are being rude at all if you feel the need to get up and go home or get up and go do homework or just get up and go do what you need to do. So we understand family and evening time means a lot. So thank you so much for coming, and we'll keep our meeting going even though the room just left. Mr. Robertson, I'll speak to you out there. What I will say on behalf of those that are still here and those that are listening is that the Washington State School Directors is really gearing up for the 2016 legislative session, and although we still have some things to fix from our last session, I spoke a little bit about last month about how Director McAnally and I, along with Superintendent Campbell, spent time at our Legislative Assembly, and at that point the purpose was to really create our platforms and our positions for the coming year. And based on the input from the 168 school leaders representing the 82 districts that were there, we came up with a short list of top priorities for 2016, and that list will be kind of reviewed and adopted by the WASDA Board of Directors in November and will be presented at our state WASDA conference in Bellevue the middle of November. And the thought was then after that, once it became the standing platforms and the legislative priorities, we would bring those back and then have a more in-depth presentation to our audience and to the folks on TV really about what those 10 top priorities are and what our standing positions are, because there were some changes that were made and some additions that were made. So rather than just making a list, it seemed like having a document to jump from would be a better place to go. So there's action and activity happening. Director McAnally represents us in District 2 as our legislative rep, so spends time with other representatives from the other districts in the state, really refining and enhancing and seeing how we can come together with a strong platform that we all can support in the coming legislative session. So that would be my report for tonight.
Perfect. Yeah, that meeting will be October 24th. 24 of us will come together. We'll see if we can't combine and tweak some of them to pick the top 5 that will take to the legislature. And we like Vice President Wilson said, it will be presented to the Board of Directors for approval in November. So we'll bring it back after that. All right, next is public comment. There are blue sheets on the back table. If anybody's interested in making a comment, please fill one of those out and turn it in. At this point, I have one comment from Gary Robertson concerning listening sessions.
Good evening, Superintendent Campbell and board members. My name is Gary Robertson, and you all may know me very well, as I've spoken here many times before on various school issues. But my purpose tonight is make a couple important announcements. I had 3, but I found out I got a fake email from somebody that I know very well, and fortunately I deleted it because they were trying to get my money, so you never can be too careful. Okay, that being said, I have to thank Carrie McBroom for this opportunity, and if she didn't steal or beat me to the punch, I wanted to be the first member of this community to welcome Dr. Campbell as an official member of the Federal Way community, because I hear her move here is imminent. So welcome to our community, Dr. Campbell.
Thank you, Gary.
And the second announcement is even more important, and I thank Claire for not stealing my message, because it has to do with legislation. But on Monday, October 19th, from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Puget Sound Education Service Office, 800 Oakdale Avenue Southwest in Renton, the 4th of 7 listening meetings will be held where lawmakers will listen to public input on fully funding K through 12 education as required by the Supreme Court's McCleary decision. At the center of this issue are Senator Bruce Demir, Republican Puyallup, who's chairman of the House Appropriations Committee, and Senator Christine Rolfs, of a Democrat from Bainbridge. If you are passionate about adequate funding for education, as I am, this is your chance to weigh in and tell lawmakers what they need to hear. Namely, it's time to get serious about this issue, find a reliable funding source, revise the totally outdated school funding formula to make it fair for all school districts, and to fully fund K through 12 education as the Supreme Court has ordered you to do. And needless to say, I will be at that meeting to testify. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I just want to make sure people know that the address that Gary gave was correct. It's 800 Oakdale Avenue Southwest in Renton, 98057. It's Puget Sound Educational Service District. From 5 to 7, they'll have the hearing there, and if there's an overflow of individuals, I know the one that just happened, they had over 450 individuals there, are having a plan to wire and make sure that there are rooms available so that if there's overflow in the main room, people can still participate. I did mention that Director McAnally, as the District 2 representative, will also be speaking to that panel on Monday from 5 to 7. So I really appreciate, Gary, having you come and share that information with us, and would encourage anyone else that's got the passion that you and I both do to be there and let folks know what our thoughts are.
So, and I will be there as well, along with Sally McLean and as well as Dr. Pfeiffer. And we will be planning on making comments.
Great. It's great to hear. So yeah, I have an 8-minute piece. There are 6 of us presenting 8 minutes, and I am doing it from a school board position to share for King County. So thank you. And
I just want to say one thing. I think having a school superintendent and the president of the school board testifying over some John Doe like myself will have a much greater impact on the lawmakers. We want you there as well. I will be there.
Oh, that's good, and thank you. Yeah, your comments are important as well. So, next we'll move to superintendent comments. Dr. Campbell.
Well, this week in the district as well as around the region, schools are recognizing and observing Discover U, which is around college and career readiness, which is why we're wearing our college gear. If you look at our cabinet, we're doing it as well. And on Thursday, all across the district, administrators and teachers will be doing the same thing. And I think it's important to remember the why of all of this. Charlie Hoff, you sent me an article recently that talked about universities were encouraging students, if they're seeking college opportunities, to be applying as early as 14 and to really be getting their game on in terms of being ready for those opportunities beyond high school. And I just wanted to read a couple paragraphs of what I've read in terms of why this is important. In today's global economy, graduating from high school and going on to post-secondary education is critical for students to have the greatest professional options and opportunities. College is one of many pathways, and other post-secondary programs teach students the skills they need to pursue a specific career, such as nursing, mechanics, or computer technology. If the skills and abilities of 2 prospective employees are equal, often a college degree or other post-secondary education can be the determining factor for who gets hired. And it's just important that our students know the doors that are open for them when those opportunities are there and they have the skills and the experiences. that help them to open it. Strictly in terms of income, any type of post-secondary education, whether it has a academic focus of a liberal arts education, a direction toward a challenging technical career, an apprenticeship, or a combination of these opportunities, can prepare a student to enter into professions with salaries reaching $40,000 to $50,000 per year. By contrast, students who began working directly after high school are at a disadvantage, especially if they work a full-time job and have experienced no post-secondary education. Typically, earnings for those participating in any form of post-secondary education are about $22,000 to $31,000. So we're talking a difference of between $10,000 to $20,000 in annual income for our students. And I think it's important for us to recognize the difference that makes over the lifetime of an individual. So it's not just about college, but it's about all those opportunities and making sure that every single one of our 22,000 scholars has every opportunity to take advantage of those things. Thank you.
May I speak to that subject?
Sure. Go ahead and you can have your 3 minutes.
Be pleased to announce that one of our local students just got $212,000 to attend college. Now, she was known by that college in the 8th grade. So what that article, of course, reinforced is it's not what college you know, it's what college knows you. How long have they known you, and why would they want to invest in you? This is the most difficult state in the nation to recruit kids for college. If you're willing to go away from Washington, there's an awful lot of money out there to do it. So there's a college fair this weekend, this Saturday, at the Convention Center in Seattle at 11 o'clock. There'll be over 300 colleges there. Many of them will be looking to find somebody that they can afford to hire is the wrong word, to bring to their college. They're hungry. It's a win-win situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. And thanks for all the work that you do in our community to make sure students are aware of their opportunities for college. All right, we'll move to school board comments. Vice President Wilson, would you like to start us?
I had the opportunity, I guess it was the end of last week, to sit in on a listening session with members of the Afghan community, and really had a wonderful opportunity to have some conversation about the kinds of things that are working well and the kinds of things that would be helpful. And I did not realize that within our little three-city area of Auburn, Des Moines, Kent, kind of the Federal Way area, there's over 1,000 Afghan families and children that are served by our schools, which also brought to mind the kinds of supports and services we're providing for not only students but for families, and had some really wonderful conversation. And I know that was written down and scripted and will be part of kind of as we move forward how we really understand the landscape of who the families are that are in our district that we serve, and how is it that they become part of our process of creating a community that feels like it's a welcoming place and one where they can hang on to culture and language, but also feel part of a new community that they're part of. So I felt very fortunate and had a really wonderful opportunity for some really deep, thoughtful conversation. I also last week had a chance to attend the Pave the Way conference on advancing equity, access, readiness, and support that was held down in Tacoma. Pedro Noguera, if you've not heard him, was the keynote speaker, and again, just focusing on race equity and focusing on how it is that we are strategizing and moving our needle forward on changing the opportunity gap for children. And I had the opportunity to sit with a lot of students because you never know who you're sitting with at lunch, and it was a great chance to have some conversation with students who have recently come out of the school system to talk a little bit about what worked for them and some things that they would suggest that we might try differently. And then tomorrow I have an opportunity to attend the Getting to Graduation and Beyond luncheon that's put together and put on by Jobs for Washington grads. Again, an opportunity to think about pathways for our students and where they're going after they graduate from college. So lots of focus on the college and career aspect as well as Cradle, which I will never forget. We can't do one or the other. It has to be and both, and we have to think about how we're helping our kids get ready, how we're helping them achieve, and then how we're also helping them to succeed. So, and then I guess the only last thing is there is another equity convening that's coming up. This will be the second one of a series for school board directors, superintendents, and leadership from across the 2-county area. And it's on November 12th, Achieving Educational Racial Equity Through Policy and Beyond, and will be the second convening. And Dr. Candy Steele, who's a deputy superintendent in Colorado, has really done the work in that district and will come and bring a couple of her professional colleagues and allies with her to walk us through the conditions and what really needs to happen in order for us to change the landscape for kids and for families. And Dr. Campbell will again be part of facilitating that day, and I'm looking forward to it. It's November 12th.
Director Eto?
Thank you. I'd just like to speak to how encouraged I feel about the future of the Federal Way Public School District. We have a really great core team of individuals, and now we have a new superintendent that is really aligning their focus, I think. And I'm truly excited about how we've implemented policy governance to a point where it's refined with assessments and just incremental changes that are going to be improvements all around. And I would encourage those that can to participate in the strategic planning process, because we've kind of set the parameters for where we want our framework to be in terms of how we want to achieve certain end states. And so now it's a matter of what are we going to use in terms of that framework to align where we want to put our focus and move forward, as opposed to having every school be kind of like an independent laboratory. Things are going great in Federal Way Public Schools. There's no question about it. The good news stories that we've had in these board meetings are testimony to that. So now it's a matter of taking a lot of good things and aligning it better. And I feel that we're on the verge of doing that. The strategic planning briefing is a good one to have today. And I hope it does encourage those that can to participate and help us prioritize in terms of what we want in terms of initiatives. And it will allow the board, I think, to truly embrace policy governance and leave the school district's operations to the team of experts that are there and able to really lead this district forward. Because it's not for us to go and dictate a lot of eaches, and I've come to terms with that. And so I'm looking forward to great improvement over the coming years.
Thank you. So I don't have a lot to share tonight. I did visit 2 more schools since our last meeting. I've been to Mark Twain and to Sacagawea. I had an invitation from the principal at Sahali, so I will do a walking tour with him this week as well. And then my rotation starts again with my 5 schools. So that's about all I have to share at this point. So our next item is our strategic plan update. Dr. Campbell?
So, Director Eto, I really want to thank you for sort of giving the prelude to this particular presentation. We are well underway in terms of beginning the process of outlining the work the district will be focusing on over the next decade in our strategic plan. And I'm going to invite Cassie Swinson, the Director of Strategy and System Alignment, along with Dr. Danny Pfeiffer, our new Deputy Superintendent, to share with you some of the big ideas around strategic planning. We will be providing you with updates throughout the year, but this is just the entry level, just so you get a sense of how we've sort of outlined the framework for the work to start.
Good evening, Board President McAnally, members of the board, and Dr. Campbell. It's our honor and pleasure this evening to provide for you a brief overview of the strategic planning process. Joining me this evening is Cassie Swinson, Director of Strategy and System Alignment. A strategic plan defines the mission and the goals of the district and creates a roadmap for reaching those goals for the benefit of students and our greater community. Over and over again, we have heard Dr. Campbell share about reaching and teaching every student in an effort to ensure that they are college and career ready, and that our actions as educators should be targeted, measurable, and aligned. The strategic planning process will allow us to do just that by articulating our shared vision, mission, and beliefs, along with data-driven goals and objectives that purposefully link the plan and the strategies within the plan down to the school and the classroom level, ensuring alignment of our school improvement plans across our district to the broader district strategic plan. The systematic and collaborative planning process will effectively communicate our priorities as a district, where the goals articulated within the plan in our schools and classrooms daily will ultimately benefit our collective work upon students.
And to share with you the purpose of the presentation tonight is to give you the purpose and guiding principles of the district strategic plan that will outline our vision, mission, and goals for the next decade, and to share the timeline and the stakeholder groups involved in the strategic planning process. So why a strategic plan? The strategic plan offers a coordinated roadmap for continuous improvement of educational practices and student achievement. The plan is an expression of the district's fondest wishes for students, staff, and stakeholders, and will set a district vision, mission, and goals for the next decade. Furthermore, the strategic plan allows for a disciplined framework to bring people, programs, processes, and resources together in aligned fashion, working towards a common aim.
And I'd like to share this next slide. If you recall from our recent board study session retreat, I outlined the connection between the ends, our theory of action work, and the strategic plan, and subsequently the school improvement plans at all of our schools. And it begins with the ends that the board has already outlined. Our ends then drive the strategic plan, and our strategic plan will then also reinforce and shape the ends, because we may very well have to revise or edit those ends based on what our larger community outlines as goals within the strategic planning process. Currently, right now, the leadership team is fleshing out a theory of action, and for those of you who wonder what a theory of action is, it merely is what we say we believe will cause, it's the greatest lever that we can pull to improve student achievement at scale across the district. This theory of action that we decide will in a lot of ways determine the strategies and the activities that are embedded in the strategic plan. And ultimately, the continuous improvement efforts that will happen at every school will be driven by the strategic plan, so that we have school improvement plans that are aligned. This type of alignment will really allow us to be coherent and have a systems approach to improvement. As you recall, we've not had a strategic plan in about 20 years, and so what that does, it means that there are opportunities for misalignment, and this will help us to sharpen our focus.
So there are 4 guiding principles that truly undergird the strategic planning process. The plan will clarify the district's goals for student learning and achievement, outline our roadmap, the how in accomplishing those goals, embrace a diverse voices from both our internal and external partners, as well as give us courage to mobilize our leadership in a way to act for the benefit of students. The strategic planning process is actually supported by a meta-analysis from the research of Waters and Marzano in 2006, who determined that student achievement is positively correlated with effective district leadership when these 5 strategies of practices are applied. The first practice is collaborative goal setting, where a variety of stakeholder groups come together, leadership team members, teachers, building administrators, and central office staff, internal and external partners, to define and determine what the district is working towards. The second practice is the assurance and around the collaborative goal, these defined collaborative goals that articulate achievement in the instructional efforts for actually improving student achievement, and that they are non-negotiable and they must be acted upon and everyone is held accountable for.
And the third goal is around board alignment and support. So when Director Eto talks about the board's work in really becoming aligned around policy governance and aligning our ends, that actually is another important ingredient in this whole piece around district improvements that work. I want to stress this 0.25 effect size. That actually means that if schools are moving forward, that the district can actually, the central office and the district can enhance that improvement. We can make it better or we can make it worse. And so it tells us that we have an impact, and that's what this research really is outlining.
An important aspect as well that's supported by research is the practice of frequent progress monitoring, the achievement goals and the instructional goals that lie within the plan itself. And they are truly the driving force behind the plan. And then, of course, there's resource alignment under the direction of the superintendent that allows her to empower district time, money, staff, and resources to support those goals that lie within. Again, I'd like to echo what Dr. Campbell said, that research shows that these 5 key leadership practices have a 0.24 effect size on student achievement. In other words, in a district that improves strategic leadership from the 50th percentile to the 60th percentile, merely 10 points, student achievement will increase by approximately 2.4 percentile points.
So part of the strategic plan, the design of it, embraces diverse voices and communities. Stakeholders represented throughout this process include students, staff, families, teachers, district and union leadership, classified staff, community members, and business leaders. Stakeholder engagement will begin with a survey October 19th through 23rd, and that's available to all stakeholders, internal and external stakeholders. All stakeholders will be invited to provide input at various focus groups or community forums. There will also be reality check sessions during the strategic planning process to share the status of the planning process and to solicit feedback. One moment.
There's a timeline slide in there that's not there.
I don't know how we can see it.
Someone ate the slide.
What's that?
Someone ate that slide.
Okay.
Just speak
Just
to it.
The
tell
slide
them.
is hiding from us, but I will go ahead and talk about the strategic planning teams. So we're looking at 5 strategic planning teams and focus groups. We have the alignment team, the core planning team, the instructional focus team, student voice, and 5 community forums. And so in more detail, let me share with you that the first group, the alignment team, is our district leadership team, and this team will convene on Wednesday, October 28th. Next is our core planning team. This team is comprised of district leadership team members, principals, assistant principals, parents, community members, teachers, and classified staff who will be coming together to generate vision, mission, and goals of the strategic plan. This team will meet for 5 planning sessions. Another important strategic planning group is our instructional focus team.
Cassie, really quickly,
Oh,
I just want to
yes.
remind them that that particular group will have over 100 members. I want people to get a sense of the scale of involvement for that particular team.
Thank you for adding that, Dr. Campbell. So yes, that'll be approximately 100 or right around that number for the core planning team. Our instructional focus team will also be a similar size and will include district leadership members, teaching for learning department members, student support services members, principals, and teachers. The work of this team will be to assess the instructional strengths and opportunities for growth and to help drive the instructional goals within the strategic plan. Next, our student voice group will be, we're shooting for 100 students to be broadly representative of our district. The focus group will provide student input on the current and desired state of student experiences here at Federal Way Public Schools. Students will also gain an understanding of the strategic planning process during this focus group. And last but not least, our community forums. Community forums will be held in the evening and in each of the 5 board member districts. Food and childcare will be offered to provide for greater community access to these forums. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity tonight to share with you the strategic planning process that will provide a roadmap for continuous improvement and a laser-like focus on student results. And with that, question and answers.
Members, any questions?
I don't have a question, but I was struck by some words that you said that I would love to reiterate, and that is the fondest wishes for our district students. That is such a powerful way to put that and to say that, and I just, it is what we wish for every student. So I just appreciate the words and the message tonight and the work that's gone into sharing the plan for strategic planning, the kind of the why and the wherefore and the how and the who. So thank you.
I guess I'm gonna use this opportunity to go through a strike list, because there were a lot of folks that had their doubts about hiring Dr. Campbell. And we'll get to the first one by the speaker earlier, Gary Robertson, who announced that Dr. Campbell has moved to the Federal Way. And I remember there are folks that were telling me, she's not going to move into Federal Way. You watch. But she has. Another thing that people told me was she's way too organized, and therefore she's a phony. Well, it's very clear that she's very organized. And so that's strike two. And the third one was that she was going to take the approach that I'm smarter than you, and it's going to be my way or the highway. And she's very collaborative. It's very clear that this thing speaks to collaboration with the community, with the leadership here, with student involvement. Everything she promised, she's delivered. That's strike three. So I think it's time to become a true believer that we hired right and we're on the right track.
Great, thank you. So this is almost 2 years in the coming. When I actually campaigned, it'll be 2 years in December when I was seated on this board. Part of my campaigning was that we needed to have a strategic plan. And it was conversations that I had started to have with your predecessor, Dr. Campbell, that this is something we needed to do. We needed to focus on it. It had been too long. And we really needed to understand what our focus was, what our mission and vision and values were. And so this to me is elaborate just, admiration that we kind of finally come to the fruition that we're moving forward with the strategic plan. And I'm really excited about where we're going and what we're doing with the leadership of Dr. Campbell. So thank you.
And I just want to say this is real hard work. There will be no capes. There are no superheroes. There are no magic bullets. This will be hard, but this will be the right work, and we will continue to reach out. And this will be a collaborative team effort. It won't be one individual, including the superintendent. In fact, it will be the work of the people out in the buildings as well as the teams. So I just want to stress that. That's what I believe in wholeheartedly.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
So next item is the 2015-16 revised annual agenda. We've made a couple changes to it, so we just need to look at it and then would open the floor to a motion to accept it as presented.
I move that the Board of Education approve the revised 15-16 annual planning schedule agenda as highlighted in yellow in the new calendar.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And we are adjourned. Thank you.